Yes, sir. Haven't done one of these in a while. We have not done one of these in a while, so let's get cracking, eh? Hey guys, how you going? To BKRsport. We're here as we're going to be doing some tips. Again, we did this every week for quite some time, and then unfortunately the Origin schedule absolutely slapped us. So we weren't able to do those tips, but I've been getting so many of you guys, even the people at the Broncos game, coming to me saying, where's your tips going and whatnot? And I had to do the same thing. Unfortunately, they just have been disappearing through this Origin period. But we're cracking back. We're ready to go again. And I appreciate you guys, as always, for obviously wanting to see this and appreciating the content. Obviously, it's been a big weekend for me. Good win there for the Titans at Suncorp Stadium. That was, it's always great to win there. It is always great to win there. If you haven't checked the vlog out yet, obviously go and check that one out. That came out yesterday at 5:30 p.m. I've got Canberra this week, which is going to be absolutely freezing, mate. It's going to be freezing. It's going to be freezing. But if you guys don't know how these do work, we're going to be going through every single game and reviewing it. I'll give my analytical opinion. I'll go through the two team lineups, give you my thought process in regards to the game. We do watch every game here, and even when I don't get to stream it live for you guys, I do go back and watch it myself. So, yeah, I do have a decent understanding about how it all goes. But in the same sense, the tipping is really difficult. You know, just because everything points towards one team to win, it doesn't necessarily mean that's going to happen. Have a look at the Titans and Broncos game, for example of that. So we'll go through the two-team lineups. I'll give you my thoughts, and then we'll jump into the chat, see what you guys are saying. If you are here after we have gone live, we are currently live streaming right now with everybody. I will put the timestamps available to you guys where you can click onto the individual game that you are looking for. And yeah, get around it, guys. Obviously, if you haven't subscribed to the Gold Coast Titans Frontline podcast with myself and Clarky, we just got done finishing that one, which will come out tomorrow on the podcast channel. So definitely go subscribe there. And yeah, let's get to the chat. Let's see who's here. Let's see who's rocking. Who's going to buy this week, actually, before we do that? Who's going to buy? The buy is the Parramatta of the Squeal. Oh, the Parramatta of the Squeal. Okay. Well, they're going to be pretty happy with that one. They've been doing pretty well recently, the old Parramatta Squeal. But, you know, you can't say no to a buy right now. Give yourself a bit of a breather. Going into the last little stretch of the season. But yeah, guys, obviously hit that thumbs up button, subscribe if you're new around here, and let's get to the chat. Let's get into the chat. Jay says, yeah, the boys. Yeah, the boys. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, the boys. Shakespeare says up the Broncos. Genetic Sports says Eels got the easy win over the bye. Hey, not just yet, mate. Not just yet, you know. We'll just wait and see. It could be a good game. Emilio Savage just hit the Dogs. Emilio. It's going to be a hard one. I'm not going to lie to you. Obviously, the Dogs aren't exactly doing too greatly this season. Who do they play this week? We'll have a look. I'm not going to tell you my tip because we'll get into it afterwards. Oh, they play the Knights. That's a 50-50 game for me. That's a real toss-up game, especially with the Bulldogs being at home. So maybe, you know what, Emilio might do. We'll see how we go. We'll see how we get through that game. Call strikes high. Brighton says, tips are back, you beauty. We are back, son. Don't you worry. BKR Sport says, BKR Weatherman, what's doing? And we haven't started BKR Sport Weatherman, or not BKR Sport Weatherman, BKR Weatherman just yet. But to be fair, I have already mentioned how cold it's going to be in Canberra this week when I'm down there for the Titans-Canberra Raiders game. So I guess I am starting to become a weatherman here on the channel. I guess I am. Chief Bentley says, don't worry, it's 1-1. We'll see you in the finals. Don't say you'll get into the finals just yet. Don't say it, because this time last year, you were exactly where you are right now. So I'm not saying we've made finals just yet, and you shouldn't be either, because you're still only 4 points out of the 8 right now, FYI. Just want to throw that out there. Maybe if I'm a Broncos fan, I leave that confidence for a little bit later on, after what we saw on a Sunday. Brighton says, Para flying at the moment, you hate to see it. Elijah says, Bunnies have to have a good look at themselves. They do. We'll get into that. We will get into that one. Yeah, they do have to have a real good look at themselves, man, because that was, they're not exactly having the greatest of time now, is South Sydney. AJ says, do you think Walsh gets suspended? Yes. Brighton says, Cheese got 3 weeks of calling the ref a cheat. Walsh just swore at him. Surely he gets less than 3 weeks, right? Should have been binned too, to be completely honest with you. But it doesn't matter because we won. But, all right, guys, let's get into the games here. Again, as I said, if you're watching this afterwards, it is timestamped if you want to go and have a look at the... if you want to go have a look at the individual game that we are reviewing. But, like I said, hit that thumbs up button. subscribe if you're new around here, and let's get it. So, the first game here on Thursday night, we will be streaming live. This week will be a bit different in regards to streaming live. We do have a Chihuahua boy, Blue Headphone Man, potentially making an appearance on Sunday. But the Cronulla Sharks are taking on the St. George Illawarra Dragons in that little South Sydney rivalry there, you know, Cogra and Cronulla. The Sharkies come to this game in 4th position, whilst the Dragons come to the game in 17th. So they are in last right now. And we all know how tough it has been at St. George in this last couple of weeks, realistically, with the Ben Hunt scenario. And we all know how they got on over the weekend against the New Zealand Wars, the Warriors, baby. They obviously slapped them. So this is not an easy task for the Dragons to go to Cronulla. I know it's not too far away from them. It's only about like a 10-15 minute drive from them. But the fact of the matter is, the Sharkies, they really need to start getting a little bit of a move on too. Actually, you know what? I'm also going to put up this ladder over here so that I can quickly go and skedaddle over so I can see. The Sharkies, obviously, you know, they're just one win off the top of the table there. But the fact of the matter is that their points differential is not anywhere close to the Panthers, but they are close enough to reach the Storm and the Broncos with a big win here, provided the other two teams do lose. So the Sharkies do have the ability to go into second this week, and those are not exactly easy games for the Broncos and the Storm there. And the Dragons, they're just chuckling. We won't even bother be having a look at that one. But yeah, look, obviously, the Sharkies coming into this game should be feeling very, very confident of a win, and especially at Shark Park there. It is on a night game on Thursday. The last time they had a game at Shark Park on Thursday night was the game against the Cowboys, which they flogged them. So if I'm wrong there, please let me know. But yes, I believe that was the last Thursday night game that they did have. Now let's get into the two-team lineups here. Braden Trindle, Jesse Colquhoun, Melweni Hiroti, and Toby Rudolph come in with no outs there for the Sharks. William Kennedy is the fullback with Sione Katoa and Ronaldo Mortalo on the wings. Jesse Ramian and Siddisi Fatalikai are the centres. Matt Mullen is the 5'8", Nico Hines is the halfback with Oregon Kafusi and Braden Hamlin-Ueli in the front row. Blake Bradley, number 9. Britton Cora and Teague Wilton back row, and then Dal Finucane is the lock. Interchange-wise, Cameron McInnes, Thomas Hazelton, Jack Williams, and Wade Graham, with the reserves being Connor Tracy, Mawani Hiroti, Toby Rudolph, Braden Trindle, and Jesse Colquhoun. So this Sharks team, they've got no real excuses, especially now that they're getting Toby Rudolph back into the system. Obviously, he's still on the reserves there, but he's starting to get back, so he'll probably be back next week for the Sharks, which is great news for them. Moving over to the Dragons now, Billy Burns, Max Feeney, Moses Mbai, Ryan Couchman, Tautau Moga, and Toby Couchman come in, with Jack Bird and Moses Sully going out. So that's even harsher for Dragons fans to see that two of their starting players are out in this game. Fullback-wise, Tyrell Sloan with Matthew Feeney and Michaeli Ravalawa on the wings. Zach Lomax, the Taxman, and Tautau Moga are the centres. Jaden Sullivan is the 5'8", Ben Hunt is the captain still and halfback. Francis Molo and Blake Laurie front row. Jacob Little is the number 9. Ben Murdoch-Masila and Jaden Sewer are the back row. And then Jack DeBellin is the lock. Tautau Moan, Michael Mollo, Toby Couchman, and Jaden Hunt are the interchange with Ryan Couchman, Moses Mbai, Zane Musgrove, Max Feeney, and Billy Burns as the reserves there. Look, guys, I don't think it's going to be too crazy of a surprise here. I'm not going to be, sitting here talking too crazy about who I'm going to tip. I am going to take the Sharkies here. And I'm going to take the Sharkies by a big margin. I'm not going to lie to you. I think that they're going to really try and use this game as a game to fix the points differential. And you've got to remember as well, if you go and have a look at the ladder, the Eels are on plus 132, which is the second best points differential in the comp. So if the Sharks are to lose this game, the Sharkies not only will drop below the Wars if the Warriors won, if the Raiders won, they'd go below them to 6th. And then you've also got the Eels with plus 132, would get to 22 as well. So it would be a disastrous outcome for them to lose that. And also, if the Sharks were to lose and the Rabbitohs beat, because the Eels get the bye, so then no matter what, going to go above them if the Sharks lose. But the Rabbitohs, they play the Wars, so one of those teams. To be fair, if the Sharks lost by enough and the Warriors only lost by like 1 or 2 points and whatnot, and the Rabbitohs won by a decent enough margin, or just one in general, Rabbitohs could go above them too. So they're just lucky the Titans' points differential doesn't help them out there. But overall, the Sharkies could drop off a little bit here. So I think that's going to really be used as a motivator for the Sharkies, and they'll try and target this game as a salvage the points differential area. So yes, I will go with the Sharkies, and I'll go 13+. I will go 13+. Ryan Skerman says Storm over the Panthers. We'll get to that. Doxo forces damn Eels got a mad points difference for 7th. Absolutely, man. Go have a look at the Raiders. Venom says, anyone else straight captain Nico Hines? Look, it's probably a good shout, mate. I'm not going to lie to you. I would be nervous about him potentially getting selected for New South Wales next week. That is a potential, considering that they might go with somebody else other than Jerome Luai. I think they do keep Mitchell Moses, but they could go back to Nico Hines there, especially in a dead rubber. So I would be concerned if you haven't got Nico Hines to bring him in for a game like this. But with that being said, if you have Nico Hines already, then I would captain him against the Dragons for sure, yeah. Especially considering he is known as a flat track bully, and the Sharks are known as a flat track bully. So as Fanboy said, I think that tipping the Sharks by a 200 would be an understatement. Listen, that's an understatement, mate. Let's start being realistic here. 300, and that's in the first half. Brighton says Hunt's half out the door. His mind's in the Gold Coast at the moment. Yeah, look, obviously, there is actually rumours about other halves to the Gold Coast at the moment, especially with Desi. So it'd be interesting to see if that's still even on the equation when Desi does come now, with the fact that they have refused for the time being anyway. But the fact of the matter is that Ben Hunt being captain is kind of weird to me. Like, I would just go with somebody else. I know that Ben Hunt's still there, but as if you'd want to play underneath your captain who has openly said he doesn't want to play for the club. The captain is meant to represent your club. So why is Ben Hunt representing the club right now? And that's not me necessarily shooting down Ben Hunt. It's me shooting down the Dragons organisation, saying that you don't really know what you're doing. Because if you're going to captain a guy who clearly doesn't want to play there, you've got some severe problems with your team and with the ability to select elsewhere. So no, I'm really confused by the fact that Ben Hunt is still their captain. Cool Strikes Dragons 12 plus. Got to get on your team. You may as well back in your team. Chiefs Bentley says Sharks 13 plus. First try Jaden Sullivan. Hoza04 says Finn. Okay, we'll talk about that after. William Pearson says Sharks 13 plus. Wood says no. We'll talk about those kind of teams. We'll talk about other teams when we get to them. We'll, obviously, for the time being, we'll just talk about Sharkies and Dragons. Yeah, sorry guys. There's a whole. Go Sharks surely. Yeah, exactly right. 2DC Sports. We'll go with the Sharkies there. Yeah, we'll get to when we're getting to other games, guys. That's when I'll start talking about other teams. If you want to ask me a question about like Luke Brooks and whatnot, we'll do that when we get to Manly or the Tigers. Not Sharks and the Dragons there. But let's move on now. That is the Sharks 13 plus is the prediction that I'm making with that one. We move on to Friday night now with the New Zealand Wars, baby. This is a good Friday night action. I'll actually be in Wollongong on Friday night, and I'll stream the games from Wollongong here. I will stream both Friday night games. But we do have the New Zealand Warriors in 5th position, taking on the South Sydney Rabbitohs in 8th position there on the 6 p.m. game. Obviously, guys, hit that thumbs up button and subscribe if you're new around here. The Warriors are $1.70 favourites here comparatively to the $2.16 Rabbitohs, which is something pre-season you would never have thought would be happening. This is in Auckland at Mount Smart. I know it's Go Media, but everyone still calls it Mount Smart there. The Warriors are coming in with some fine form, man. You know, they really are. You can have a look at this ladder, and they're in 5th position. If they win this game, they could potentially be equal top. If the Storm lost to the Storm and Panthers both play each other, so one of those teams will obviously lose. The Broncos obviously play the Dolphins, so they could put themselves into 2nd position with a win here. With their points differential not being too bad, with the Sharks 74, 83 of the Storm, and the 87 of the Broncos. So yeah, pretty good stuff there for the Warriors. They can drop off obviously decently with a loss, however. With the points differential not being crazy, but they're very happy with where they are. The Rabbitohs, on the other hand, are in 8th position. That is absolutely low and can drop out of the 8. But can. If the Titans beat the Raiders and the Rabbitohs lose to the Warriors, the Rabbitohs will drop out of the 8, which is significant. That is absolutely massive, especially considering I had them as my preseason favourites. And I still kind of backed them to do it. I just need to see Latrell Mitchell come back in. But again, it just really shows that this team is a real one-man team. They need Trell to be there. Otherwise, they just don't have it. They really look disappointing against the Cowboys. Cowboys are finding a bit of a mid-season resurgence, but still, the Rabbitohs shouldn't be losing a game like that. And it was a really off game from Cody Walker, and I'm really disappointed with how the Rabbitohs season is going. I couldn't imagine how you Rabbitohs fans are feeling with your season so far. But let's go into the two-team lineups here. Braden Williami, Kalani Going, Mitchell Barnett, Ronald Volkman, and Zion Maiu'u are the ins, with Murata Niokora being out for the Warriors. Charles Neal-Klokstad is the fullback, with Dallin Watene-Zelezniak and Marcelo Montoya on the wings. How good has Dallin Watene-Zelezniak been recently? My goodness me, 4 tries against the Dragons. Gee whiz. Rocco Berry and Adam Pompey at the centres, with Luke Metcalf as the 5'8" and Sean Johnson as the halfback. Adam Fanua-Blake and Bunty 4 are the front rowers, and Wade Egan is the number 9. Jackson Ford, Josh Curran back row, Tohu Harris is the lock, with Dylan Walker, Mitchell Barnett, Bailey Sirinen, and Tom Ali as the interchange. In reserves being Freddie Lussick, Braden Williami, Ronald Volkman, Kalani Going, and Zion Maiu'u. No excuses here for the Wars in regards to their team lineup. They should be, based on their team lineup, getting a win here, but again, they're going up against a really desperate Rabbitohs team right now. The NC for the Rabbitohs, Dean Hawkins, Jacob Gagai, Shakai Mitchell, Saliva Havili, good in there, Tane Milne and Tyrone Munro, with Jacob Host and Jed Cartwright being out. The fullback is Blake Tough, with Alex Johnson and Richard Kenner on the wings, Campbell Graham and Isaiah Tuss in his centres. Cody Walker is the 5'8", Lachlan Ilias is the halfback with Tavita Totola and Hame Sele front row. Damien Cook is the number 9. Keelan Kalamatangi and Michael Cheekham back row, and then Cameron Murray is the captain and lock. Saliva Havili into the 14 role, love that. Shakai Mitchell, David Mawali and Thomas Burgess the interchange, with Tyrone Munro, Tane Milne, Dean Hawkins, Peter Mamuzelis and Jacob Gagai as the reserves. Now, but I'll preface this with my tip. I'll preface my tip with the fact that I don't want to get too far ahead of myself with the Warriors after beating the Dragons, right? The Dragons, that was a week from hell for them. A real week from hell. So I don't know if I can just 100% say, well, the Wars are just phenomenal. Like, their position right now on the table is very close to everybody else. So it's like, they're doing really well, but also let's just kind of wait and see a little bit more. It is the middle of the season. We aren't at necessarily the home stretch until after Origin does finish. And I know that obviously the Warriors don't have any players playing for Origin, but the fact of the matter is other teams do. The Rabbitohs team, they're missing Latrell Mitchell right now. It is so difficult to see them getting a win over here at Mount Smart in Auckland, or Go Media Stadium, sorry. It's very difficult to see them getting a win, but I just feel like they're so desperate. Oh, man, but looking at the team lineup, you just don't feel confident at all in this Rabbitohs team, even though they've got some great players there. But Blake Taft doesn't do it for me. Richie Cannon doesn't really do it for me. The halves aren't really doing it for me so far this season. And the full packs are pretty even. Oh, man, I don't know. Like, if the Wars win this game, it proves a lot for their season, and they probably do get it done in regards to making the 8 with a win here. But the Rabbitohs do still have excuses. I think the vibe in New Zealand is going to get them the win. I think the vibe in New Zealand will get them the win. But that's really going to be a tough one there for the Rabbitohs. This is the hardest game of the lot. This is the hard. You know what? I'm sorry, Rabbitohs fans. I'm going to take them. I'm going to take the Wars. I'm going to take the Wars there. Yep. And they are the favourites, which is crazy, but I'm going to take the Wars. It's a tough one. Real tough one. Flaxy says, howdy, hello, mate. Brighton says, Warriors favourites. Venom says, tip of the Wars. Brighton says, big statement if they can get it done against the Bunnies. Also, what does that say about the Bunnies if they lose? Exactly right. You know, again, the Bunnies do have excuses, though, with their players out. But they need to get winning. You know, we're starting to get to that final stretch. And they need to get winning, because if they lose this game and the Titans beat the Raiders, which is, the margin game, the Rabbitohs will drop out of the 8. And then, you know, you could see teams like the Cowboys, the Dolphins, and the Roosters all equal with the Rabbitohs as well, but their points differential will be much better. So, yeah, look, it's going to be interesting here for the Rabbitohs if they lose this game, but I'm tipping the Wars at home. But I also know what this Warriors team can do, and I know this team has the ability to lose games that they really should be winning. And we all know it. Warriors fans all know it too. Brighton says they have like 2 players from Origin are Fluxy. I think Origin injuries killed the Rabbitohs over the past month. Injuries have really destroyed the Rabbitohs a lot this season, but in regards to Origin, yeah, they haven't had a great deal of players out there. Latrell Mitchell obviously didn't even get to play Origin this season, so you know that's not really that one, but that's obviously a part of the injuries. So yeah, look, it's a tough one for Rabbitohs fans right now. They would have expected highs, and they're getting lows this year, unfortunately. Oh, Ken Murray's the only one, actually. Well, there you go. William Pearson says, South 1 of 12. TDC Sports says, tipping the Warriors, but you never know this season. Exactly right. You do never know this season. I feel like being over there in New Zealand should get the job done for them. But again, the Warriors are one of the least trustworthy teams when it comes to the back end of the year. They really are. Again, why somebody Mouse is scoring 4 tries versus the Dragons is nothing to be proud of. Well, you can be proud of it for sure. Like, scoring that many tries is definitely something to be proud of, but it's nothing to go crazy about because it is the Dragons after everything that's gone on. Slapper says, tough is so embarrassing. Average, it's embarrassing. Flex Storm says Warriors to win. Ryan Skimmer says Warriors by 4+. I think if they're going to win, I actually feel like a field goal game's on here because, again, the Rabbitohs are going to be desperate, but the Warriors get over the line. I'm going to go by field goal. I'm going to go by a field goal, yeah. Have the Warriors lost at Mount Smart this year? No, because the game against the Broncos, which was a baby Broncos team, was in somewhere else. I can't remember. It was in somewhere else in New Zealand. So The answer, I believe, is no. The last time I believe they lost there was against the Titans in round 27 last year to a Tanner Boyd field goal after we were down by 8 points with... 14 points with 6 minutes to go, I think it was. Yeah, with 6 minutes to go. Oh, they did get beat early this year. Did they? Did the Warriors get beat early this year at New Zealand? I know they got beat by the Broncos in New Zealand, but it wasn't at Mount Smart. Warriors have won by 30 plus in the last 3 games, I think. That's great. Actually, let's just quickly go have a look here who they've played to come to that and see if they're ones to really write home about their Warriors there. Okay, well, we can quickly have a look and see if they've lost at Mount Smart. SkySling Wellington, that's not there. Mount Smart, they beat the Bulldogs 16-14. Mount Smart, they beat Cowboys. They did to the Roosters 14-0. Yeah, in that dreadful conditions game. Yeah, they did. They lost to the Roosters. You're right there, Ryan. So the last 3 games. So they beat the Dragons, cool. Raiders. It was a decent one. Dolphins, don't care. But the Raiders one was pretty good there in Canberra when I was watching it. So that's the one that I would really give to the Wars there. So yeah, I'll take the Wars, but that's a very unconfident game. A very unconfident game. But there you go. I'll take the Wars by literally 1 point in that one. Let's move on now to the Friday night game here. Massive game between first and third. It's the Melbourne Storm taking on the Penrith Panthers. Storm obviously being third, Panthers being first. Storm are home and favourites $1.85, but effectively this is a $1.90 a piece game, with the Panthers being 2-1. Now, this is at Marvel Stadium in Melbourne. Now, guys, obviously hit that thumbs up button and subscribe. This is at Marvel Stadium in Melbourne because the Women's World Cup, I believe, is starting very, very soon. So, they'll be moving from Amy across. This is a massive game for both these two teams because whoever wins it will go first. Whoever wins it will go first. They're both on 24 points apiece. Points differential of the Panthers is obviously about 100 better than the Storm. However, the Storm would be by themselves on top. So this is a huge one here. Also a huge one for the Broncos, because if the Storm win this game by a small margin and the Broncos win this one by enough of a margin, the Broncos stay on top. But then again, the Broncos could win, the Panthers could lose, and the Storm could win by enough and still jump the Broncos as well into first. So that top 3 is potentially going to change around quite significantly over this round, which is quite huge. And most of these teams, you're probably not going to see them drop out of the top 4, to be completely honest with you. But there's a chance the Storm to drop. You won't see the Panthers drop out, but there is a chance the Storm could drop out if results really went against them. Now, the 2-team lineups here. Ins for the Storm, Money Munster, Chris Lewis, Suilauvi Falongo, Tom Eisenhuth, and Tuikami Kamita, with the out being Aaron Penne. In fullback is Nick Meaney, with Will Warbrick and Xavier Coates on the wings, Remus Smith and Justin Olam to the centres. Cameron Munster is the 5'8", Jerome Hughes is the halfback. Tarek Sims and Christian Welch is the front row, Christian Welch being the captain, with Harry Grant in the hooker, Trent Loiero, Nelson Asafa-Solomona the back row, Josh King as the lock, Bronson Garlick, Alec McDonald, Tuikami Kamita, and Kane Bradley the interchange, with Tyron Wishart, Tom Eisenhuth, Chris Lewis, Suilauvi Falongo, and Jonah Pezzett being the reserves there, considering that Munster comes back in. Storm team should be getting the win based on what they think. Based on their team, they should be getting the job done there in Melbourne. But they're going up against a very, very good side, obviously. Brian To'o, Isaiah Yeo, Jerome Luai, Liam Martin, Stephen Crichton back in. So all the Origin boys who got a rest last week against the Knights, with the out being Liam Henry. Fullback wise, Dylan Edwards with Suna Taruva and Brian To'o on the wings, Stephen Crichton and Isaac Tungo in the centres. I saw that New South Wales Instagram post. Jerome Luai is the 5'8", Jack Cogger is the halfback, with Moses Leota and James Fisher-Harris front row. Mitch Kenny is the hooker. Scott Sorensen and Liam Martin back row. Isaiah Yeo is the lock captain. Sonia Luke, Lindsay Smith, Spencer Leniu and Jamin Salmon are the interchange, with Zach Hosking on the reserves. Matty Eisenhuth, Luke Garner, Tyron Peachy and Tom Jenkins. Wowee, Zach Hosking drops out there. That's a big one. That is a big one there for the Panthers. But it shows the depth that they do have here. Now, who do I tip in this game? This is tough. The Panthers just had a reserve grade team beat a full-strength Knights team in Penrith, which was impressive. But now this is to their first grade team, their best team, and they're taking on a better team than they did play against the Knights. Obviously much better, with the Storm being full strength as well. Really, really tough game here. Really tough game in Melbourne. Storm are favourites. I wouldn't even classify them as favourites with those odds. It's probably about $1.90 a piece realistically. I am going to go with the underdogs of Penrith. I am going to say that the Panthers get a win here and flex their premiership muscle, as Clarkey would say. I'm not able to bank on the Storm just yet. They're all thereabouts to me banking on them, but I'm not going to justify going all in on them just yet because they did have a few mistakes in them still against Manly, and Manly aren't exactly great. So I'm going to go the Panthers here, especially after their players have had a rest. They're going to be kind of coming in all guns a-blazing to prove their New South Wales stocks and to get back into the Origin team for the final game in the dead rubber, especially a guy like Luai. Jack Cogger has proven to be a good enough halfback there to cover for Nathan Cleary, just like Sean O'Sullivan did last year for him before he went to the Dolphins. I'm going to take the Panthers in a close one. This is going to be a cracker game. I really can't wait to watch it, and I'll take the Panthers by 2 or 4 points. I'll go 2 points. I'm going to go by 2 points there. Yeah. Get more SW Mouse says Storm 15, Panthers 14. Venom says Penrith to win. William Pearson says Storm 1-12. Ryan Scribner says Storm 6+. Jay says draw just to piss all their fans off. Yeah, the draw wouldn't be helpful for these guys up the top of the table there because other teams could then jump them with that and not have to care about the points differential of the Panthers. It would benefit the Storm more than the Panthers though because the Panthers have that plus 175 points differential like I was saying. But yeah, it would be crazy for a draw because then they'd be put onto the same level as Knights and Manly in regards to the uneven numbers, but those guys are out of the equation. But it does leave them susceptible to, for example, say the Broncos win. You got the Sharks, Warriors, and Raiders. They could obviously go to 24 points, which would be 1 point behind them. The Eels will get a bye, so it'll be 22, so that'll be 3 points behind them. And, obviously the Titans wouldn't be there, but then the Titans could get 22 as well, alongside the Rabbitohs, and that'll only be 3 points. So that means that the Panthers and Storm would be both very, very close to actually getting knocked out of the 8. So you don't want to draw if you're either one of these teams for sure. Christian Kez, this game is tough as hell to pick. Oh, it's hurting my brain thinking about having to pick it. V. Waddle says, what about when Welsh disrespected the Panthers saying, how did the Knights not beat the Panthers? They got no one. Yeah, but he's right. It's not like we're not all thinking it. We're all thinking that how did the Knights lose that game? The Knights had a full-strength team going up against a Panthers team without Cleary, without Lua, without To'o, without Crichton, without Liam Martin, without Isaiah Yeo. They had a whole, reserve grade team in there. And the Panthers still won relatively convincingly. They made mistakes, but they still won relatively convincingly there in Penrith. So it's impressive to see that from the Panthers, but incredibly disappointing to see that from Newcastle. Incredibly. Up the wires, it's going to be raining hard at Mount Smart. May change the game a bit. Yeah, we've gone past that game, bro. We've gone past that game. V1 says, no, the Panthers saying the non-Origin players are nothing. It's not what Christian Welch is saying. Christian Welch is saying that a first grade Knights team should be beating a second grade Panthers team. Because again, these Panthers are in the system, but they're not at the level of a Luai, of a Cleary, of an Isaiah Yeo, of a Liam Martin, of a Crichton, of a Brian To'o. They're not there, but yet they have the ability to still compete. So it's a compliment to the Panthers, but also a holy damn, Knights, what are you doing? That is a mixture of both worlds. Brighton says, can't go past Panthers, but this is the best defensive side versus the second best. Yep, 100%. Christian K said, the Storm see themselves as a title threat. They need to beat Penrith without Cleary in Melbourne. I hate that autocorrect puts Cleary to clearly, because it comes through on this channel all the time and I read it straight through. And it's not your fault, Christian. I'm just saying, autocorrect always puts it to clearly. And I hate it. I hate it there. But yeah, look, if they do think they're a title threat, they are definitely a contender. The contenders right now are the Panthers, the Storm. You can make an argument for the Broncos, but they just lost with a full-strength team to a Titans team with no captain, no coach. And, and we lost Cleese Haas late on as well. So the Broncos, how you going, boys? And then you've also got... Oh, man. I want to say the Rabbitohs, but are you going to say the Rabbitohs? You could put the Eels up there with their points differential. They've got the second best points differential in the comp. I know, but Storm, they're a contender, man. They're a contender. Ken says, g'day, lads. Storm by 6. Otherwise, do you think Shark... Brother, we don't care about the Warriors anymore. We've done the Warriors game. We've done the Warriors game, my guy. Star Wars Fanboy says, can we talk... Bro, I've had to warn you multiple times now, bro. We don't care about that game anymore. We've done that game. Star Wars Fanboy says, the Panthers had Jack Cogger put some respect on the name. Yeah, Jack Cogger's been great. I've been loving watching Jack Cogger. I think he's been fantastic for them, especially as a replacement there for Sean O'Sullivan, who went to the Dolphins in the offseason in the offseason to the Dolphins. Yeah, no, I think it's been fantastic. Go ask me, Mouse, I'm only tip of the Storm because there's no Chin Boy. Yeah, if Chin Boy was there, you'd definitely think the Panthers would win by more. But I also think Jack Cogger's doing enough of a replacement here. I think he's doing enough to really show himself out. I think he's really proving enough there that I don't think it would be a drastic change. I really don't, which is a crazy call to make, but I don't think it would be as drastic as people make out, personally. But there we go, guys. That is my tip there for the Panthers and the Storm game. That is by 2 points to Penrith in a really hard game to predict. But all right, we move into the Saturday games now, and it is the Canberra Raiders taking on my Gold Coast Titans, baby. 2 wins in a row plus a bye. I'm going to classify that as 3 wins in a row. Thank you very much. This has gone for 4 wins in a row, including the bye, but I'll take it. The Raiders are obviously in 6th. The Titans are in 9th. Guys, obviously hit that thumbs up button and subscribe. Titans, baby, we're coming off a big win against the Broncos at Suncorp Stadium with no coach. Obviously, Jimmy Lenihan steps up as the assistant coach, the interim coach for the rest of the year before Des Hasler comes in 2024. We had no Tino. There was no Khalees Haas. There was a whole bunch of mix around. Chris Randall had to play back row, had a phenomenal game. And we still got the win over the Broncos there. Really impressed with the gall of this team. And, people keep saying the buys are really going to catch up to the Titans considering they've had all their buys and everybody else hasn't had all their buys just yet. But if you win your games, that doesn't matter, right? If you win your games, it's still effectively in your hands as long as you win your games. And that was a game most people expected us to lose, and they won, so it keeps them in the hunt. Raiders, on the other hand, their points differential is dreadful, but they're just winning games. They're just getting the job done there, and this is a tough place to win in Canberra, albeit the last time they played there, they did lose to the Warriors. They did lose to the Warriors in that big drubbing in Canberra, so that might give them a bit of a, up them to get it going down there in Canberra. But the Raiders there with the minus 69, the points differential of the Titans is minus 27, so the Titans would go straight above the Raiders with a win here, and then obviously rely on the Rabbitohs to lose to go up into 7th position. Can't go above the Eels, though, because the points differential is way too big there. So, and you would have to assume the Warriors would get thumped and the Titans to do a thumping to go above the Wars there. Big game here between these two teams. Really, really huge game that really defines the rest of the season. If the Titans want to go on with the year and prove that they're amongst it, then gee whiz, this is a game to do it down there in cold Canberra after a hot game at Suncorp Stadium. And if the Raiders want to consider themselves a premiership threat or to really push themselves into the finals, they have to be winning this game too, because the Raiders, their points differential is shot. So if they lose a game, they can drop, baby. Actually, let's quickly have a look here. If the Raiders lose this game, the Eels would go above them. If the Rabbitohs beat the Wars, Rabbitohs go above them. The Titans, if they won, they go above them. They're lucky that the Cowboys, the Dolphins, and the Roosters are on 18 instead. However, that would leave them 2 points away from them. The Cowboys have a better points differential than them. The Dolphins have a better points differential than them. And depending on how much they would lose by, the Roosters could have a better points differential than them. So, yeah, real tough going there for the Raiders in regards to that, because the minus 27, not great for the Titans. Still, at least not down that minus 70, 80 range. Moving into the two-team lineups here, at the Mariota, Brad Schneider, Danny Levi, Peter Holler, and Xavier Savage are in, with Josh Papali'i being out. Sebastian Chris is the fullback, with Alba Habawade and Jordan Rapana on the wings. Matty Tomoko and Jared Croker are the centres and captain. You've got Jack White as the 5'8", Jamal Fogarty as the halfback, Pasami Saulo and Joseph Tarpane front row, Zach Wolford into the number 9. Hudson Young, Elliot Whitehead back row, Corey Horsburgh is the lock. Tom Starling, Emre Gula, Nick Kotrich and Ata Mariota are the interchange, with the reserves being Brad Schneider, Danny Levi, Matt Frawley, Xavier Savage and Peter Holler as the reserves. Raiders here, massive loss there in Josh Papali'i, especially considering they're going up against a fresh Tino, as we'll see in a second there, coming off that win against the Broncos, but he's coming off the win with Queensland and got that rest there and was going to be coming into this game really fresh. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what Tino can do, but Josh Papali'i out is a big loss for the Raiders in that 4-pack. Moving on to the Titans now. Jacob Alec, Khalees Haas, Cruz Leeming and Tina Fa'asuamaleaui are in with nobody being out. Great signs there. AJ Brimdog Millionaire is the fullback with Alofiana Khan Pereira and Philip Salmon on the wings. Salmon been having a great year. Brian Kelly and Aaron Schupmeister are the centres with Kizaforum and Tanner Boyd in the halves. You've got Mikey Fotuaika and Tina Fa'asuamaleaui as the captain. They're front rowers. Sammy Verrills in number 9. He is just such a slippery little gypsy, son. You got to love him. He's just doing so much for this club that is not X Factor, just does what needs to be done. Dave Fafita and Joe Stimson are the back rowers, and then Isaac Liu is the lock. Jaden Campbell, Aaron Clark, Jamin Jolliffe, and Chris Randall are interchanged with Isaac Fa'asuamaleaui, Jojo Fafita, Cruz Leeming, Khalees Haas, and Jacob Alec as the reserves. Going here into this bench here, obviously a lot of people are saying that the bench is small, but this is the exact same bench that won the game against the... Well, actually, it's not the exact same bench that won the game against the Broncos, but it kind of effectively is. Like, Jimmy Jolliffe obviously went into the front row. You had Isaac Fa'asuamaleaui on the bench alongside Chris Randall, Aaron Clark and Jaden Campbell, and they got the job done there. And Randall obviously showed out to be a pretty good back rower, can play as a utility for the forwards. Rather than just playing as a hooker, he can play as a utility for the forwards. Best game in a Titans jersey by far. We spoke about this in depth on the Gold Coast Titans Frontline podcast that'll come out tomorrow over on the YouTube channel. That is in the description here. Actually, I don't know if it's in the description, but you'll be able to find it anyway. So yeah, look, it's really interesting. I love what the team is doing here. I do still believe that Joe Stimson should be a middle rotation prop. I really do think that he should be a rotation prop, but obviously Khalees Haas is injured, and I'm not too comfortable with starting Isaac Fa'asuamaleaui just yet. When Khalees comes back, I personally would love that though. Khalees starting back rower, Joe Stimson as the rotation front rower there in the middle. And I think he comes up with some big moments, man, but also just can sometimes be a little bit lost on defense. But when it comes to the front row, I love what he was doing in the preseason, and I think we get back to that. Overall, you guys know me. I'm a Titans fan. You know, I'm going to take my team. I'm confident in a win. I'm not as confident as Clark is in regards to the scoreline, but I am confident in a win here. So I'm going to take my team. You guys know this. Obviously, take what I say and listen to how I'm explaining why I believe we win, rather than just going based off of what I say, because obviously I do have my bias for the Titans. But the reason why I believe that we win this game is because the forward battle here of the Titans should probably win this one out. Moeki Fotuaika and Tina Fa'asuamaleaui against Tapane and Pasami Saulo. I do give that to the two Queensland forwards there. You go to the hooker, and Sam Verrills wins that very clearly over Wolford. Now, you got Dave Fafita and Joe Stimson versus Whitehead and Hudson Young. Whitehead's got the experience on Stimson, and you probably lean with Whitehead there, and Hudson Young is a very similar player to Dave Fafita, but Dave Fafita is very, very clear. You could make an argument that it kind of rounds itself out, but I will also lean with the back rowers there. Of the Titans. You go to the Raiders, they have Corey Horsburgh and Isaac Liu. I do give that to Corey Horsburgh with the fact that he's been absolutely killing it this season. It's been an absolute career year there for Corey Horsburgh, and with the Flegler injury, may be knocking himself into a spot there for Queensland in Game 3. And then the bench is there. I really love what we've been doing with the bench, and I think that Jimmy Jolliffe, Chris Randall, Aaron Clark, and Jaden Campbell get the job done over Starling, Emre Gula, Nick Cottridge, and Adam Mayorota. So, yeah, look, the halves battle, you'd lean with Fogarty and Jack Whiten, and I think that it's very similar in regards to the backline. But I will say in regards to the backline, the pace of the Titans has a lot more on the Raiders. It's nerve-wracking for the Raiders here, because the Titans, although it didn't look absolutely unbelievable attacking-wise against the Broncos are a very good defensive unit. You go and have a look at the ladder here. The Raiders have a 314 points scored against 383. The Titans have 332 points scored against 359. So that means the Titans have scored more points than the Raiders this year, and the Titans have conceded less points than the Raiders this year, right? And that's why it shows minus 69 to minus 27. But the point matter is that considering that everyone has always been hounding on the Titans, and justifiably so, for the lack of defense in the Gold Coast, it's interesting to see that the Raiders have actually conceded 69-79, 24 more points this year. So Raiders defensively are lackluster. And with the Titans attack, if they are on song this week in regards to attack against a team that isn't the Broncos with a 281 against, which is 100 less points given up than the Raiders, the Titans could really put on a score. They could. But I am nervous about the cold. I am nervous about the change of weather. And I am also nervous at the fact that the Raiders lost their last game in Canberra. So they're going to be up for a big one here. But with that being said, I'm confident in my boys, and I'm going to back my boys in. Christian Kansas, I think I might be wrong, but aren't the Raiders a bit of a bogey side for the Titans? No, if anything, it's 50-50. And we used to be their bogey side. We used to always be able to get a win against them. Last year, they got a win against us, but no, I wouldn't say the Raiders would be a bogey side for us. Our bogey sides would be teams like usually the Broncos, but no, our bogey side is really the Rabbitohs. We don't ever beat the Rabbitohs. So that's who our bogey side would be. That's who our bogey side would be. Ryan Skelman says Titans 50 plus. Brighton says the milk have been looking a bit shaky last couple of weeks. The Titans have beaten two top four teams this year. I think they can get it done. Two top four teams. Who was the other one? Oh, we beat the Storm 38-34. You're right. And the Broncos on the weekend, 18-12. One of those games was a massively high-scoring game. The other one was a very, very low-scoring game. And we haven't officially played the Panthers or the Sharkies just yet. So, maybe we could go to clean sweep there, everyone. Eh? Now we could go to clean sweep. Luke says Titans to win. Big boost having Tino back. Oh, how good's that? How good is having Tino back? When I was at the game with Suncorp, I looked over at Antonio, was to my right, and I just said, man, this could get brutal. Losing Tino, no coach, away, have lost 3 or so years against them. Oh, man, it seemed like it was brutal. But we came over the top of them, especially after that first set for the Broncos too. That was terrifying. Brighton, that was terrifying. Christian guesses for a non-Raiders and Titans fan. This is also super, super hard to pick also. Absolutely. Some huge forward packs here. There absolutely is. Luke's potential bit of game of the round, low-key. I'm not going to say too much because if you want to hear a real in-depth opinion and analytical preview of this with myself and Clarkie's Rugby League column, we do obviously speak about on the podcast tomorrow, which is available on Spotify, Apple, and also on YouTube with the video on the Gold Coast Frontline Podcast YouTube channel. I will leave it at that for the preview because there's a lot more that we go in depth into. But yeah, look, this has a big potential here. Up the wires, bro. I'm going to time you out again, my guy. If you're going to be a dick, we're just going to keep removing you. TJC, because I know you're just being a dick. TJC Sports is going to tip the Raiders 1-12, but far from really Titans out of this. No, fair enough, mate. I think I've gone 1-12. And I think that it will be a close game, but I do think that we should... It's not like we can't score points in Canberra. We scored 24 points against them last year. I know we lost that game, but the fact of the matter is we still scored those points, and if we can grind it out of them... I'm telling you, we just ground it out of the Broncos at Suncorp. I'm telling you, it's not like this is a gone for... It's not over. I definitely think that the Titans can really push this one all the way. I think if Titans need to win big, Raiders will win if it's a close game, in my opinion. Not necessarily. The Titans don't win big. The Titans have only won one time 13 plus this year, which was by 14. The Titans were able to grind out a close win against the Broncos on Sunday, 18-12. The Titans have been able to, when they win, they usually win by a close margin, so that doesn't really make a great deal of sense to me. And it's not like we don't have a field goal kicker as well, because Tanner Boyd can kick a field goal. He did it against the Warriors. How about that one up the wires? You haven't beaten us in a couple of years. Enjoyed that one, big boy. Mwah. So as Fanboy says, whenever I tip the Titans, they lose. Whenever I tip against them, they win. Guess I'll tip Canberra. Yeah, please tip Canberra. Yeah, please tip Canberra so that you can lose your tip because we would like to win. I would like to win that game. And then we go to the Dolphins next week. But I think that should be enough of this one. If you want to hear a more in-depth analysis on this tomorrow, 3 p.m. on YouTube, probably about midday on Spotify is when the Gold Coast Frontline Podcast will come out, as Jay just dropped the link to that one in the chat. But all right, let's move on now to the next game, which is the 5:30 p.m. game on Saturday. Now, guys, just to clarify, these 3 games will not be streamed. Antonio will not be able to get here. The Chihuahua boy will not be able to get here for the Saturday games, and I'll be at Canberra for Titans Raiders. But he will probably do the Sunday games. He'll probably be doing the Sunday games. But we get now into the North Queensland Cowboys taking on the West Tigers in a battle of what happened last year. That's how we'll label it there. Obviously, guys, hit that thumbs up button and subscribe. The Cowboys coming to this game in 10th position with the Tigers coming in 16th position. The Cowboys are $1.18. Ridiculous odds. But I also understand the recent form, but ridiculous odds there of $1.18. With the Tigers being $4.95. This is the 5:30 p.m. game at Townsville at Queensland Country Bank Stadium. Cowboys obviously had a really good win against the Rabbitohs. Really good win. But the Rabbitohs have been really down recently. I'm not going to provide excuses there for the Rabbitohs. I'm just going to say the Cowboys were the better team and did thump them. They just 100% did. Am I convinced the Cowboys are back? I'm not fully sure just yet. If they win this game by about 40, 30, by a significant amount, okay, I'll be back on the Cowboys. They're going to make the 8 wagon. But for the time being, they are still in 10th for a reason. And their points differential isn't exactly too great itself. It's minus 36 there. Obviously, can jump into the 8 with a win here, but No, they can't really. No, they can't. They could go above the Titans, for sure, but they would need to win by like 6. The Titans lose by about 4, and then that would happen there, which is definitely doable. So effectively, the Cowboys win this game, the Titans lose. The Cowboys would go above the Titans into 9th, but they won't go above the Rabbitohs unless the Rabbitohs lost by like 100 points, which I don't believe would be happening there. The Tigers, on the other hand, obviously they're trying to fight off the Dragons. The Dragons beat the Sharks, God help them. Then the Dragons would go above the Tigers, and the Tigers would go last with a loss. And those two teams, if the Bulldogs lose to the Knights and the Tigers/Dragons win, they go above the Bulldogs, and Bulldogs go into last because that points differential of minus 154. So, yeah, tough times down there at the bottom of the table. Let's go into the two-team lineups here. For the Cowboys, Jack Kosiewski, Jason Tamalolo, Sammy Mack, my boy, and Zach Labour are the ins with no one but out. Scott Drinkwater is a fullback with Semi Valame and Murray Taulangi on the wings. Valentine Holmes and Petahiku are the centres. Tom Dearden, 5'8", Chad Townsend, captain halfback, with Jordan McLean and Cohen Hess on the front row. Reece Robinson is the hooker. Luciano Leilua and Jeremiah Nanai back row. Ruben Cotter is the lock, with Jake Granville, Griffin Neem, Jermaine Tanoa Brown, and Kulakefu Finifuaki as the interchange. Jason Tamalolo, Carl Felt, my boy Sammy Mack, Jackie Seski, and Zach Labour as the reserves. Cowboys, they've got a pretty full team in there, man. Semi Valama's been great for them. Scott Drinkwater's been great for them, but they've got a pretty full team. No excuses for them at this game at home. Moving to the Tigers now. Atalasi, James, Dane Lowry, Justin Matamua, and Stefano Utukamanu come in with no one being out. Great news for them. Dream Buller is the fullback with David Nofaluma and Junior Tuba on the wings. How you going, David? Brett Naden and Stafford Doa are the centres, with Dane Lowry as the 5'8", and Brandon Wakeham as the halfback. Stefano Utukamanu and David Clemmer front row. Jake Simkin is the hooker. Isaiah Papali'i and Sean Bloor back row. John Bateman is the captain. He's lock. Interchange-wise, Talon Silva, Fanua Pole, Alex Tual, and Asul Kepoa, with the reserves being Alex Seifert, Will Smith, Tommy Talau, Justin Matamua, and Ataisi James. I am going to take the Cowboys here. I'm not going to take them by much, though. I'm going to take them by 8-10 points. I think the Tigers will be up for the game, but I do still believe that the Cowboys will win the game. Because they are in the hunt right now for the 8. You may as well really back in a team that is up there. It would be really, really difficult for the Tigers to win in North Queensland. But again, the Cowboys haven't really shown any kind of proof that they are a guaranteed team this year. So, look, they've been doing well recently. They have been. But I'm still waiting for them to really show out overall. That was a great game against the Rabbitohs. Do it again. It was a great game against the Rabbitohs. Do it again. But again, great game for them. So I'll take the Cowboys and I'll take them 1-12. Anyone else just love watching Dream Buller play? It's just so soothing to watch. Yeah, Dream Buller's been great to watch. A lot of people are still concerned about why Titans let go of him when he was at the Titans. We have AJ Brimson, we have Keanu Kenny, and Jaden Campbell. We're okay for fullbacks. Again, it's great to watch Dream Buller, and I've loved watching him play. But also, we're kind of okay for fullback. So it's not really a stressful situation at all on the Gold Coast in regards to that. But again, great player. Really good player. TDC Sports is honestly kind of want the Tigers to win despite tipping the Cowboys. I think everyone would love to see it for the shock factor. And I don't think it's out of the equation with the Tigers really wanting to, keep themselves away from winning back-to-back spoons. Like, imagine coming 16th, getting the spoon, and then finishing lower, than coming last. You came last year and you finished even lower the year after with a brand new team. That would be just excruciating and humiliating. So the Tigers will be up for it, especially now that they obviously have decided to lose Luke Brooks. Obviously Dane Laurie is coming to the 5'8", and Brandon Wakeham is the halfback there. Luke Brooks is gone now. That's going to really see what the Tigers are made of without him, because I do think that although Luke Brooks isn't great, Dane Laurie and Brandon Wakeham doesn't really set the world on fire. So I would prefer to be watching Luke Brooks there than that halves combo. And that's what loses this game for the Tigers. Otherwise, I would have kind of had a consideration for the Tigers, but with that halves combo, not for me. It's just not for me. So have they just got rid of Kyle Felt, Christian says. I think he's just not going to be able to make it back to the team with Semi Valame playing. Obviously, he'll play when Murray Taulagi is at Origin. But Semi Valame has been great. He's younger as well. And I think Kyle Felt has done his dash. I think he had a great career. But I think he's done his dash. Look, the Cowboys might murder this game. They want to get their own back from the other game they played. Yeah, I forgot about that, actually. The 66-18 game where the Tigers flogged them. That could be a good point there. But then again, the Tigers also, this was where they got dudded and robbed last year. So maybe they'll be up for it too based off that. But it's a lot of different players that are playing in this game than it was last year's game for the Tigers. So, yeah, you're probably right. Cowboys probably do win by a decent score based off of wanting to get their revenge from the absolute demolition, slaughter that happened at Leichhardt Oval a couple of weeks ago. But we'll see how that one does pan out. But all right, let's move on now into the last game on Saturday. Obviously, guys, hit that thumbs up button and subscribe. We do have the Battle of Brisbane. The Brisbane Broncos, second place, taking on the Dolphins in 11th. Had to get second Broncos. Broncos are $1.21. Favourites to the Dolphins, who are $4.45. This is at the Gabba in Brisbane due to the FIFA Women's World Cup there. Now, guys, obviously hit that thumbs up button and subscribe. This is the 7:35 p.m. game, and this is going to be interesting because the Broncos may lose Reece Walsh. They may lose Reece Walsh, probably should lose Reece Walsh based off of what they're looking at giving him, because it was very obvious that he was talking to the referee. If anyone thinks, if you're a Broncos fan and you have any thought process to defend Reece Walsh, they're saying he was talking to Dave or Paddy or whatever you guys want to go with for the time being, it's very, very clear that before Dave even touches his head that he's looking directly at the ref, and also 1 second before Dave even touches him is beginning to mouth off. He's beginning to mouth off a second before Dave even touches him. And then if you want to say that he's talking to Paddy, which that's not what the players are going with, that's not what Adam Reynolds and Reece Walsh are going with, they're saying it was a Dave, but yeah, when he was running over to the ref, he was saying I was directing at Paddy, so now there's two different stories here. But also, if he was directing at Paddy, then why was he looking directly at the referee and going towards the referee the entire time? It's literally blatant. So Broncos, it's all well and good to defend your fullback, I get it, but also, don't be stupid. It's very stupid to say that he didn't do that towards the referee. He's lucky to not have been binned. Be thankful he didn't get binned, but he probably will get suspended based off of the derogatory words towards the referees. Now, let's get into the game here, because that is just a potential out. The Broncos obviously come into this game after the loss to the Titans there, full-strength Broncos as well, and the Dolphins come into this game after getting absolutely thumped by the Eels. I'm pretty certain I know who's going to be winning this game. Let's go into the two-team lineups here. Dean Mariner, Jock Madden, Keenan Palacia, Logan Bayless-Burrell, Tristan Saylor, and Xavier Willison come in for the Broncos, with Jordan Ricky and Thomas Flegler going out. Potential on Reece Walsh. Fullback, potentially, Reece Walsh, Corey Oates, and someone couple on the wings, Tony Staggs and Herbie Farnworth are the centres. 5'8", Ezra Mam. Halfback is Adam Reynolds and his captain, with Keenan Palacia and Payne Haas as the front rowers. Billy Walters is the hooker. Brandon Piakura and Xavier Willison are the back row. Patrick Carrigan is the lock, with Tyson Smoothie, Corey Jensen, Kobe Hetherington, and Martin Tapau interchange. Reserves being Jesse Arthurs, Dean Mariner, Jock Madden, Tristan Saylor, and Logan Bayless-Burrell. Interesting here for the Broncos, the back row, not really scary at all. You're not really too worried about that a great deal. Front row is, you got Keenan Palacia, who'll be at the Titans next year with Payne Haas. Number 9 still very, very worrying. Obviously, they've still got Paddy Carrigan there. You go to the back line. They've pretty much got a straightforward back line, except for the fact that they probably will lose Reece Walsh there. Which would bring Jesse Arthurs to the wing, and they might put Selwyn Cobbo as the fullback, or maybe Herbie Farnworth to the fullback, and then someone come to centre. I'm not too sure, but the point of the matter is that you'd probably see Selwyn go fullback and Jesse Arthurs go wing if that was the case there. So Broncos, a couple of question marks around them. Dolphins-wise, Jerry Marshall-King, Kurt Donahoe, Pawasa Fa'amau-Wasili, and Tessie New come in with no one being out. Hamisa Tabuai-Fidow is the fullback, with Jermaine Asako and Tessie New on the wings. Valencia Tefare and Ewan Aiken are the centres. Isaiah Katoa at 5'8". Sean O'Sullivan is the halfback, with Jesse Bromwich and Herman Sayese front rowers. Jerry Marshall-King is the hooker. You go to the back row, Felice Kafusi and Kenneth Bromwich, with Ray Stone as the lock. Interchange-wise, Josh Kerr, Mark Nichols, Kennelly Lemielu, and Cody Nakrima. Reserves being Max Plath, Harrison Graham, Pawasa Fa'amau-Wasili, Braden McGrady, and Kurt Donahoe as the reserves there. I'm going to take the Broncos. I think that although it is a tantalising prospect that the Broncos at this time last year did completely fall off the wagon, I think they've got a good bounce back game here against a team that is clearly dying off. They're clearly falling off the ability to really compete in games. The Dolphins, they have not been going great at all recently. The Dolphins have already dropped down to 11th position and could drop as far as 12, could drop to 13. Could drop if the Manly Seagulls win by enough, and if Manly Seagulls win by 1, then the Roosters go to -21. If the Dolphins get flogged here, they could still go below both these guys, even though they're playing each other in the Roosters Manly. They can't go below the Knights, so they could drop down to the 13. I've been saying for a while now, I still believe the Dolphins come bottom 4. I still do believe it. So they can drop off. If they do win, though, they probably would go to probably where they are. If the Cowboys win, Titans, even if the Titans lose and the Cowboys win, then the Dolphins would still stay in 11th, probably, you would assume. So, big game for the Dolphins, but I do think the Broncos should be able to get the win here, even though it is at the Gabba. So, yeah, I'm going to take them by 13 plus. No, I'm going to take them by 1 to 12. No, I'll take them by 1 to 12. I think, no, I'm going to take them 13 plus. No, the Dolphins aren't good enough. Their season's been done and dusted for me. Biddy 2021 says the Titans vs Broncos game on Sunday was a cracker, even if the Broncos lost. I don't know why Kevy picked a not 100% Cobbo. Alofi Anacamperera is faster than Cobbo anyway. You know damn well Wayne Bennett's going to have the Dolphins frothing at the mouth. This is going to be a tough game. Yeah, we saw that in the last time that they played each other, but that was when the Dolphins were a little bit more in form. But Wayne Bennett surely should get them up for it, but it is going to be a game that the Broncos should look out for. But the Broncos, if they lose this game, and you consider some contenders and premiership contenders, you wish her. If you lose this game, even without Reece Walsh, you can't rely on a fullback. Also, if Adam Reynolds is not playing well, your team doesn't play well. It's very obvious. Very, very obvious at this point. Christian Gaze is Remo backing up his teammate in the post. Can't really blame him for that. Always going to have their back, although the evidence doesn't look like it's on Walsh's side. It's definitely not on Walsh's side. Definitely not. And I get Adam Reynolds doing it, but in the same sense, like, come up with a better story, man. Go and have a look at the footage and then come up with a better story. Because to say that was directed at Dave and he's not even looking at him the entire time, it's just mad. And to say that, considering that there was a whole second before that Dave before Dave touched him, a whole second before Reece Walsh. Reece Walsh was going, and then a second later was when Dave touched him. I was trying to get that right in my mind. Reece Walsh went for a second. Dave then touches him. So he's already in the middle of insulting the referee. It's the dumbest. You guys know what I'm saying. She apparently says, not sure, but backing the boys in. Broncos 13 plus. Venom says, Cobbo has gained weight. Okay. But in the same sense, Cobbo, Lofiana Cabrera and Kieran Foran obviously had planned that out quite a bit because of this. And Cobbo is not exactly a great defender. He's not exactly the most enthusiastic defender there. He's not exactly. So, yeah, it's tough to see, but he's going up against Jermaine Sarko, to be fair. He would be going up against Jermaine Sarko, so that'll be tough because Sarko might want to get one back over his old team. Alarm sirens go off if the Broncos lose this game? Absolutely, especially after last season. This is exactly where they started to fall apart. So, yeah, if they lose this game, there would definitely be alarm bells going off in Brisbane. That is for sure. That is for sure. All right, let's move now into the Sunday games. There's only 2 games to go here. And the first game to get underway with is the Canterbury Bulldogs and Newcastle Knights. Enjoy, Antonio. Enjoy Joel Boy watching this one because it's not going to be pretty. But the Bulldogs come into this game in 15th with the Newcastle Knights coming into this game in 14th. Obviously, guys, hit that thumbs up button. Subscribe if you're new around here. This is at the Core Stadium in Sydney at 2 p.m. The Bulldogs are $2.12 underdogs, with the Knights being $1.72 favourites. Yeah. Wow. Really not enthused for this game. Both teams in the bottom 4. The Dogs, if they lose this game, would potentially go into the last. If the Dragons got a surprise win against the Sharks and the Tigers got a surprise win over the Cowboys. If they win this game, they would go above the Knights. But that's as far as they go. The Bulldogs cannot leave the bottom 4 this week. Your season's done, Dogs fans. I'm sorry to say this, but your season is done. You cannot make the 8. You're going to hate to hear that, but your points differential of -154... I'm sorry, Dogs fans, but you cannot make the 8. It's just not going to be happening when you're 6 points behind as it is. Teams still have to bye, and with a points differential of -154, you need a draw, and then you need to win every single game for the rest of the season. The Knights, on the other hand, like I personally think your season's done after not being even able to beat a Panthers team that had 6-7 players out. But the fact of the matter is, if they win this game, the highest they could go is above Manly if Manly lost to the Roosters. So they wouldn't be going far either. Manly could go into the bottom 4 with a loss here, if it's by enough, because there's only 14 points between the 2 of those guys there. But yeah, really not enthusiastic about this game, I'm not going to lie. The Knights could drop as far as 15, so there's not much movement going here. But looking at the 2 team lineups, the Dogs, Harrison Edwards, Jackson Torpenny, Josh Adokar, Matt Burton, Raymond Fatala-Mariner, Reece Hoffman, and Ryan Sutton come in, with Chris Patolo, Jarrell Skelton, and Carl Oluwapu coming out. Hayes Perham is the fullback, with Jacob Kraz and Josh Adokar on the wings. Paul Alamotti and Jake Averillo are the centres. Khaled Rajab is the 5'8", Matt Burton, captain halfback. Max King and Tavita Cat Jr. are the front rowers, with Reid Money as the number 9. Jaden Ockenbaugh and Jacob Preston are the back rowers, with Curtis Maroon as the lock. Harrison Edwards, Ryan Sutton, Franklin Pele, and Jackson Torpany interchange. Reece Hoffman, Kyle Flanagan, Corey Waddell, Braden Burns, and Raymond Fatala-Mariner are the reserves. So, interesting there for the Doggies. The team is really... Yeah, it's a tough one to see. It is a tough one to see there for the Dogs, who came into the season, as per usual, really high in this team. Really high, and it just has not been working out. They are coming off the bye, which will be beneficial to them. They will really love that. But the Knights also have something to prove after getting embarrassed last week. Moving into the Newcastle Knights team, Adam Clune, Anara Twila, Jack Johns, Lachlan Miller, and Lachlan Fitzgibbon coming in. Dane Gagai goes out. Kalen Ponga, captain, fullback. Also, Dane Gagai was dreadful last week, so maybe that's a benefit there if he was going to play like that. Kalen Ponga, captain, fullback, with Dominic Young and Greg Marzio on the wings, Anara Twila and Bradman Best at the centres. Tyson Gamble's the 5'8", Jackson Hastings is the halfback, with Daniel Saifidi and Leo Thompson front row. Phoenix Crossland is hooker. Tyson Frizzell, Lachlan Fitzgibbon back row. Adam Elliott is the lock, with the interchange being Kurt Mann, Jacob Saifidi, Jack Hetherington, and Matt Croker. Reserves, Dylan Lucas, Brodie Jones, Lachlan Miller, Jack Johns, and Adam Clune. Wow, what a superbly difficult game to predict here, based off of all the wrong reasons. What a superbly difficult match to predict here. I feel like I'm going to take the Knights. I feel like I'm going to take the Knights to back up after last week. To get the job done after last week. Oh, man. What a superbly underwhelming game to have to tip. Maybe Ponga lights it up, but it's not in Newcastle. I'm really stuck on this one. I think this is the most difficult game of the weekend. I think this is more difficult than Panthers and the Storm. I'm really, really stuck on this one. Really stuck. I'm gonna stay with the Knights. Yeah, I'll stick with the Knights. Really tough game to predict. Can go either way. Could be a blowout either way. Bulldogs could blow them out. Knights could blow them out. Both could be by 1 point. Could be a draw. Could be a draw. Imagine that. I'm going to take the Knights. Very unconfident. And just, yeah, not great. Not great. Seal says, Knights 1 of 6 away from home this season. I smell a Doggies upset. Okay, 1 of 6 away from home. Yeah, that's fair. Okay, that's a tough one to see. Luke says, as a depressed Bulldogs fan, Knights 13+. Wowee. Wowee, Luke. I don't know. I don't think I want to go Knights 13+, but I do think the Knights maybe just edge it. Christian Kerr says, this game could be contender for worst of the year. Every year it's the Bulldogs' year, apparently, but since 2017 we have had their same average boring side. I think they had benefits coming into the year, but it's proven that it's just not it. Truly, Matt Burton's not a 7, he's a 6. Like, he's just not a 7. They need someone to come in for that halfback role. Realistically, they need to go to the market for a halfback. Obviously, Ben Hunt doesn't want to go to another Sydney team and wouldn't be released from another Sydney team anyway. You've got a fullback. You don't really have a fullback, but Simon Crichton goes there. I don't even think Simon Crichton's that great of a fullback. I think he's a great centre, clutch centre. But fullback-wise, I don't even think he's that unbelievable. Obviously, Dogs have had a lot of forwards injuries, but at the same time, the Titans have had a lot of injuries this year, and yet we've stuck in it. So it just shows the depth, the lackluster depth the Dogs have. But it's just not threatening. It really isn't threatening as Dogs fans try to make you believe. So, they'll go and tell us about their grand final win against the Titans and say, I'm just hating. I'm not hating. I would love to see the Doggies kind of do well, but a lot of the fans don't necessarily deserve it. But the fact of the matter is that I would love to see you be right one year, but it just doesn't seem like it's now. And there's a lot of work to be done still, personally. A lot of work to be done. Going with the Knights here. Not super excited for this game, really. I don't think anyone is. Dogs have to be the letdown of the season, maybe. Beesman says, no way, Roosters. Nah, Roosters have got to be the letdown of the season, mate. Yeah. No, not even close. Roosters or Cowboys. But at least the Cowboys are showing signs. Roosters aren't. So I'd say Roosters. Bulldogs, I didn't have them in the 8. I did not have them in the 8. So they're not necessarily a letdown team for me this year. A letdown team for everyone who listens to the Dogs fans. Dr. Force is going with the Knights just because they have a small chance to make the 8. Very small chance to make the 8. KP says GD Blaze, great win by the Titans. Unfortunately, Jay forced me to sing the Titans theme song. Does he stream, Jay? And he was streaming the Broncos game. Oh, man. GG, son. Luke says, lost all hope from that game against the Sharks. I get you, man. That was a really demoralising loss for you there, Luke. It really was. Would have been a tough one as a Dogs fan to go through. Trust me, I've gone through plenty like that. Luke says, how's Hayes Perham make this team every bloody week? It's beyond me. Well, who do you put back there? What, Jake Averillo? Back into the fullback? And then you put into the centres, you'd put Braden Burns? Like, it's not lighting up my world, mate. I'm not going to lie to you. Like, who do you put back there instead? Carraz? Averillo? Alamotti hasn't really been working out for the Doggies. I don't know. It's not great. Okay. Luke says I'll give Carraz a run there and shift Blake Wilson a wing. Yeah, like you've got that opportunity. I think Jake Averillo would be the safer bet, but you could put Carraz there and then Wilson, who was pretty good the other week. Not the Sharks game, it was a couple weeks before that. He was pretty good there for the team. I was impressed. So, yeah, not great signs in Canterbury right now. Not great signs in Newcastle, but I think the backline of Ponga, Young, Tuala, Best, and Matsu has the ability to do over those 5 there of the Dogs. And then you've got... Because Adam Carr's been found out quite drastically this year for his defense as well. He's had these problems for a while, but people haven't really recognised them because he's been at the Storm and he's so good attacking-wise, X-Factor-wise. But if you don't get the ball out to a winger, the winger's irrelevant. If you cannot get the ball out to your winger, the winger can't do anything attacking-wise. And that's the Dogs. And then defensively, the winger's going to be the one that the ball goes down mostly to. And he gets found out quite a bit there. So, yeah, Addocar's had a bit of his stocks hit this year, unfortunately for him. And then when you come to the halves, Hastings and Gamble, I do lean with Hastings and Gamble over Burton and Khalid Rajab because Matt Burton's a 6 for me and Rajab is okay. You know what I'm saying? So... yeah, it's going to be... It's hard to see what happens from here. Luke said, I'd rather see Carraz there because they've Averillo leaving next year. Fair enough. And if Carraz at the fullback works out, it could be brought into next year. No, because they've got Stephen Crichton there. He's been paying like $800K to go to the Dogs, right? So he's going to the fullback. So Stephen Crichton signed with you guys to go to the fullback. But there you go, guys. I'm going to take the Knights very tentatively 1-12. Not confident in that game at all. Not try and disrespect the Dogs there or the Knights there, but it is going to be probably the worst game of the round and potentially the season. But all right, let's go now into the final game of the round. It is the Manly Seagulls taking on the Sydney Roosters here at 4:05 p.m. on Sunday. So obviously, guys, go and hit that thumbs up button, subscribe if you're new around here. And this is a really interesting game because it could be really good, but it also could be pretty horrible and could be a lot of mistakes in it. But both teams need to win. This is a must-win here for these two teams. Manly, $1.94, Roosters, $1.90. They're basically just even at this point. And I think it should just be $1.90 apiece. I don't understand why the Roosters are 4-cent favourites. It makes no sense to me. If the Roosters win this game, their points differential is the third worst in the comp. Only 1 point separating them from being the second worst in the comp with the Dragons. Obviously, the Dogs with the minus 154 is the worst. And the Manly Seagulls, it doesn't matter about points differential there, but their points differential isn't absolutely dreadful at minus 26 anyway. But the 17 points, with a win there, the highest they could possibly go is 10th Manly. The lowest they could go is 14th, so not too drastic of a change there. The Roosters, the highest they could effectively go is 9th, but it's just not going to be happening there. Teams would have to get flogged. They could probably go above the Dolphins, but they're not probably going to go above the Cowboys or the Titans, even if those two teams were to lose. Actually, the Cowboys have to win, though. The Cowboys have to win, but they're not going to go above the Cowboys there, and they won't go above the Titans with that minus 27 there. But yeah, let's get to the two-team lineups here. This is at Brookvale. Manly, obviously, were in the game against the Storm for 50 minutes before getting thumped. Roosters, just no. Just no against the Raiders. But let's get to the two-team lineups. So Ben Trebojevic, Brad Parker, Jake Trebojevic, Jason Sarvan come to Wollongong, come in. Big in there for Jake. Ben Condon is out. Ruben Garrick is the fullback with Jason Saab and Christian Tuipulotu in the wings. Brad Parker, Joel Takwala are the centres. Josh Schuster is the 5'8". Really weird Manly contractual stuff going on right now, with Schuster and Luke Brooks being signed. Daly Cherry Evans is the captain and halfback. Tanila Paseka and Tofofo Sipley are the front rowers. Lachlan Croker goes into the hooker. Hamoli Olakawatu and Kalma Tuolangi are the back rowers. Jake Trbojevic is the lock. Interchange-wise, Ben Trbojevic, Josh Instagram blocker Aloye, and Ethan Bullimore alongside Aaron Woods are the interchange. And then Jake Arthur, Morgan Harper, Raymond Tuimaolo of Vainga, Carl Lawton and Sean Kepi are the reserves. Manly side, super underwhelming, but also can compete. They really can compete in games still, so I wouldn't completely wipe them out of the equation in this game at all. Moving it over to the Roosters, Corey Allen, Dylan Napa, Big Papa Napa. Oh no. Big Papa Napa, Big Papa Napa, Big Papa Napa, Big Papa Napa. I know what's going to happen with Daz, mate, for Antonio now. Fletcher Baker, Joseph Suali'i, Nat Butcher and Suel Wong come in with Angus Crichton and Egan Butcher going out. You've got James Tedesco as the fullback and captain, Daniel Tupou and Joseph Suali'i on the wings, Joey Manu and Billy Smith at the centres. Luke Keary's a 5'8", Sanders Smith is the halfback. I've been actually kind of enjoying him a little bit. Not maybe the last week, but before that he was alright. Warrior Hargraves and Lindsay Collins front row. Jake Turpin is the 9. Back row is Victor Radley and Nafahu White, with the 13 being Nathan Brown. Drew Hutchison, Terrell May, Seal Wong and Fletcher Baker interchange with Junior Polga, Corey Allen, Zach Docker-Clay, Nat Butcher, and Big Papa Napa, Big Papa Napa, Big Papa Napa, Big Papa Napa. Alright, that's the team. I'm not impressed by either of those teams, realistically. But I will not lie. I'm going to take Manly here. I'm going to take Manly to win against the Roosters. I've been so unimpressed with the Roosters. I really have been. I've been so unimpressed with them. I tipped them for 5th, and I got slaughtered for it. I got slaughtered for tipping them in 5th pre-season. That's because they were apparently too low. But they've been just really not great. And I think that a large contribution to it is the hooker. I really think that they're missing out on Sam Verrills. They've got Jake Turpin and Brendan Smith, who Smith is injured, obviously. And it obviously hasn't worked out for them in regards to that trade. And, you know, obviously, Verrills last year when he was injured, the Roosters weren't doing great. He came back and they started winning again. He does the things you don't see. And I think they're really missing out in that department. Now, Manly are obviously missing out on Tommy Trbojevic in the fullback role. But I do think Ruben Garrett can do the job there. And I think that Manly went toe-to-toe with Melbourne for a long period and then unfortunately just didn't get the job done right at the end there. So, I don't know. I'm going to take Manly. I'm going to take them by 1-12. And I think that Cherry Evans and Schuster, I think this will be a Schuster quality game. I think he's going to really come out and prove himself to everybody for this one game. Maybe not next week, but the fact of the matter is that I do think Schuster is really going to try and prove himself in the equation here. So, I'm going to take Manly 1-12. Tough game to predict again. But I will take Manly at home at the old Brookvale. The old Brookvale. Manly will have a solid squad from 2024 as well. I disagree. I think Manly kind of needed to go into a bit of a rebuild, mate. KS says Roosters get Spencer Leniu and Dom is going to be fire, though. KS says Roosters are cooked this season. Got roasted with a side of iceberg on Sunday. Yep. Christian Kerr says, I remember the Roosters were horrible last year. They made a push to the 8 at the end of the season. I'm thinking they can do something similar this year. When they started winning those games, Sam Verrills was their hooker. Fatima says, Jay, 4-cent favourites shows that Manly will win. What? The Roosters are the favourites by 4 cents. Luke's still Napa. God help you, Antonio, on Sunday. Casey, did you hear about the 2 signings the Sharks are getting next season? Sachin Cullen says, Return of the King, Big Papa Napa. Logo says, Manly need a solid replacement for Turbo. Yeah. Ruben Garrick does his job back there, man. You can't really blame Garrick for what happened against the Melbourne Storm. Luke says, Manly 1-12, mainly because it's in 4 points. KS says, I'll bet you BKR Roosters will win. That's 10 million on the line right there. Cool story, bro. Christian KS says, Clarkey got his pre-season premiership tip horribly wrong, it looks like. Did Clarkey take the Roosters? Nah, he didn't. Did Clarkey predict the Roosters to win the comp this year? On what basis? On what basis were the Roosters the pre-season favourites? On what basis? Luke says, the fact I tipped the Roosters to win the comp this year on my days. Luke, you just gotta slap yourself, man. You just went and slap yourself, Luke. What basis, man? What basis did people have to tip the Roosters to win the comp? I put them higher up due to what I thought was going to be people coming at me for a prediction too low. Tibet King says Roosters might win. No, they might. It's a close game. They're the favourites. You know, it's a close game. And even if Manly's at home, they have a bad record of 4 points. 4 points, terrible stat. Christian Cass says Clark out the Roosters. Oh my gosh. Dr. Four says Manly 1-12 purely for Jake coming back to the side. Huge inclusion there. Defensively specifically. Huge inclusion. Christian Cat says, a lot of people had this team for some reason. They are super overrated. They always get this way before the season starts, and then it happens. I think because people are still, hung up over the 2018, 2019 Cooper Cronk Roosters sides, right? So, yeah, I don't know. It's a tough game to predict, but I'm going to go Manly here. I will say Manly. So let's go over what my tips were in this week. Well, obviously, we'll be back next week for another one. But we did take the Sharks against the Dragons. We took... Actually, I don't know why I'm looking at the draw. Let's go actually have a look at the tips over here. Let's go have a look at the tips over here. So I did take the Sharkies over the Dragons. We've gone the Warriors over the Rabbitohs. The Panthers over the Storm. The Titans over the Raiders. Thanks for coming. The Cowboys over the Tigers. The Broncos to beat the Dolphins, even without Reece Walsh. Knights to beat the Bulldogs, and Manly to beat the Roosters. So that is my prediction for this week, and I'm okay with it. There's some tough games to predict though, but I will be streaming every game on Friday, both games on Friday. I'll be streaming the game on Thursday. I'll be at Titans Raiders on Saturday, so I will not be able to stream the Saturday games at all, and Antonio can't either, but he should be here for the Sunday games to stream with you guys for the Bulldogs and Knights game and Roosters Manly game. So Roosters Manly could be a good one for him to watch there. But if there's any other questions, shoot them through. Otherwise, we'll jump off. Logan says Roosters are the favourites. Cabbage says could see Broncos falling out of the 8 again. If they lose the Dolphins, yes. If they lose the Dolphins, see ya. Truly, see ya. If you lose the Dolphins, you're gone. Because there's harder games to come, man. That dream run at the beginning of the season, no more dream run anymore. You've got harder games to come, so you've got to be very, very careful about losing this game this week. TTC Sports says, couldn't imagine if Broncos dropped out again. I could. I don't think that they will, but it's still... They're only 4 points in the 8 right now, and if they lose this game, they're 2 points in the 8, and they've got hard games to come. So, yeah, be very careful to the Broncos there. But, look, I think I'm going to jump off, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for a video. I'm not too sure what we'll do, but I'll put a video up tomorrow. Obviously, guys, hit that thumbs up button. Subscribe if you are new around here. I appreciate you as usual. Don't forget, tomorrow the Gold Coast Frontline Podcast will come out over on the YouTube channel, Gold Coast Frontline Podcast. Jay, that'd be great if you could drop the link in the chat. And if you haven't seen the vlog yet from Sunday at Suncorp Stadium, definitely go check it out because it was a ripper day, son. It was an absolute ripper day. But alright, guys, I appreciate you. Thumbs up, subscribe, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Catch you later. See ya. Wouldn't want to be if